Some villains in Bluey don't even look like they can hurt a fly.
Ow! That's it! You get the horn!
While others, they are so evil they have no business being in a children's cartoon.
Well, I think you should pay a little.
I think you should mind your own business.
Here are the best and worst villains in Bluey. The worst ones are the villains that did a bad job of being the bad guy, and the best ones played their role a little too well. Want to guess who takes the top spot? Let us know in the comment section before we start, and stick to the end of the video to find out if you guessed correctly. At the bottom of the best and worst categories, we have Chattermax and Tina. Let's talk about Chattermax for a minute and why he's a decent villain, but not good enough to be ranked higher. Everybody hates anyone who ruins the fun of things, and Chattermax seems to be built for just that. I mean, his name literally says it all. Chattermax? Like a person who possibly can't chatter any more than they already do. I'm surprised she's an owl and not a parrot for the amount of noise she makes. Before you start wondering how an adorable toy can even be a villain, I need to remind you that the entire Toy Story franchise does exist. Before I tell you what Chattermax did to end up on this list and in this position, hit that subscribe button, or your favorite toy will turn evil. So in the Season 1 episode Hide and Seek, the healers are playing a game of hide and seek, and it's Bluey's job to find everybody. Before the game even starts, his family reminds him about what game they're playing and what he has to do.
We'll only hide if you promise not to forget you're looking for us.
You know, when someone has to be reminded what the rules are for a simple game like hide and seek, they are very, very terrible at it. And I think it was the show's way of telling us we shouldn't be surprised when they actually forget how to play the game. And the worst part is, Bluey forgets he's even playing the game.
Now, what was I doing again?
Chatterbox legit said, "Bluey, you're not going to play hide and seek, not on my watch." He distracted Bluey and had the rest of the healers hiding in uncomfortable places. Even when Bluey seemed to walk right past them and they could see him, she didn't look like he was going to find them. Who knew that a toy owl could be such a drama queen? Look at poor Bluey. She's so clueless and stressed out. Nobody deserves this. And to make matters worse, Chattermax doesn't look like he has an off switch. And what started off as a happy family moment with a game of hide and seek turned into an annoying game of get Chatterbox to shut up. And by the time Chattermax gets to actually shut up, the episode was over. There was hiding and no seeking, and the healers had their family time ruined. That's the plot of most episodes, but in this one, we had Chattermax to blame for that. And ruining family time does make you a bad guy, but trust me, this is one of the least evil things a character has done in this video. Bluey and Bingo made up an imaginary friend called Tina. She's a 7-foot giant who's big enough to make sure that Chili and Bandit back off whenever their kids tell them what they want.
They have to do whatever we say now. Oh yeah!
Damn. I mean, for someone who can't be seen but yet managed to somehow tear an entire family apart, you have to give this unseeable villain her flowers. But let me really break down just what makes Tina a villain and why we had her in this position. She has so much aura that the first time she's introduced, it's in an episode named after her. In the Season 3 episode, Bluey and Bingo suddenly decide that they're too big to listen to grown-ups. It's crazy. Little pups have a show for 3 seasons, and they suddenly feel too cool to listen to the adults of the house. So Chili and Bandit tell Bluey and Bingo to brush their teeth and clean up. Apparently, the need for personal hygiene was not a good enough reason, and neither was the fact that kids are meant to listen to adults. Bluey can be so stubborn on a good day. To make sure that they didn't have to listen to their parents, Bluey and Bingo created Tina from their imagination. A giant who was always there to make sure that Chili and Bandit thought twice about telling Bluey and Bingo what to do. What really made Tina villainous was that she wasn't just letting Bluey and Bingo get away with not listening to their mom and dad. Tina was the reason why these two girls could turn their parents into their personal slaves. Way to go, Tina. Not only did you enable Bluey and Bingo to turn into rebels, but you're the reason why they're absolute dictators. However, she's not an A-list villain because she's not being evil of her own free will. I mean, if Bluey had to create her from her own imagination, doesn't that make Bluey the real villain? Speaking of real villains, let me show you what a real villain looks like. Wait, let me tell you how they sound. In the next tier of the best and worst villains, we have Bucky, Dustin, and Banjo. If you've watched enough episodes of Bluey, you'll know that Banjo is so much of a villain that he stresses Bingo out without even making an appearance in an episode. Now that's real cold for a villain. In the Season 2 episode Bin Night, Bingo talks about her school troubles while Bandit is taking the bin out with her and Bluey.
Aw, why bad?
Banjo called me a bobo head.
It's during this that she talks about the ordeal she's going through in kindergarten. Being called a Bobsy head is really like the least of your problems in school. Trust me, by the time Bingo starts doing IP algebra, she won't even notice anyone calling her any type of name. Anyways, so Bingo's feelings were really hurt by this Banjo guy. And what really makes him a proper villain is the fact that he is consistent with this name calling. Heck, he even takes it a step further and even has other kids join in on the act.
He called Felix a bobo head.
You know, if by kindergarten you're already doing such mean things, I don't want to imagine how this Banjo puppy will turn out by the time he's in high school. Sheesh. You know the saying, every dog has its day, yeah? Well, Bingo dealt with this bully by just ignoring him. Banjo is a good villain, I'll give him that, but getting the silent treatment from the person you're bullying? No bully likes it when that happens to them. Now let's talk about a villain who would have actually been among the best if he put in more effort into playing the bad guy role. I'm talking about Bucky Dustin. Yes, the slick-talking salesman. And really, that's literally the only thing about him that truly makes him a proper villain. The fact that he puts money before any and everything. He has history with Bandit, but that's not enough to label him the bad guy. I mean, he's always been sitting on the fence with his morals. But in the Season 3 episode, The Sign, we actually get a sign of just how villainous this salesman can get and just how bad he can be at it. So Bandit gets a job in a different city, which means they can sell their house. This isn't just a house, this is the home they raised Bingo and Bluey in. And Bucky here is in a rush to have it sold. Like, chill, bro. Why are you in such a rush to have Bandit's house sold? Bucky knows how special the house feels to him, and here he is treating it like just another one of the properties he gets people to buy. He couldn't even have the decency to give Bandit some time and space to soak in the fact that he won't be calling this place home for a long while. Salesmen can be a bit heartless, and Bucky is just that, and it seems it would hurt this dog to have a little bit of respect, and that's why he makes the list. You like this video so far, don't you? Stick around because the villains are only going to get more vile and worse. We still have 6 more villains to look at, so sit tight and hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Now, it's always sad when the villains of a show turn out to be the last set of people you expect. And what's more heartbreaking is how well they play their roles. Bob and Nana. I'm talking about the two of you, and we have them in the middle as the 3rd best villains, while Muffin is in 3rd place for the worst villains. Here's why Bandit's parents made the list. And here's a heads up, Bandit has a big role to play in it. In the episode titled Fairy Tale, there was trouble in paradise. Bandit can't say his name because he's been jinxed by his brothers Strike and Radley. And the little pup can't speak till someone says his name. His dad Bob is a total nutjob because tell me why, when he sees Bandit, he calls all his siblings' names except his.
Right, so you want me to say your name so you can talk again? Well, you're dreaming, mate.
Look at it, it looks like he's in on the prank. As for Nana, she's even worse. She's very much aware of what's going on, but she thinks Bandit being unable to talk can be turned into a lesson for her son. Yeah, I'm very confused too. How is a little game for kids where somebody stays mute for losing supposed to be a life lesson? Parents in the 80s really sucked at their jobs, and the fact that they saw nothing in their actions is exactly why Bob and Nana are on here. They're lucky Bandit broke the cycle, or they would have ended up higher on our list. This tier of villains definitely proves that being family doesn't stop people from being villains. Now, Muffin seems like the harmless toddler cousin of Bluey and Bingo, but trust me, there is nothing harmless about this little pup. In the episode Face Talk, Muffin really can't grasp the concept of taking turns or sharing. She's supposed to be sharing the tablet with her sibling Socks, but she's not letting her have her turn on it.
Okay, Muffy, there's the timer. Sox's turn now.
Yay! I have to finish
And when her dad Stripes decides that he's not going to let her bad behavior slide, he does what any reasonable parent does and doesn't let Muffin have her way. But this is the Muffin we're talking about. She's not going down without a fight. She runs away with the tablet, and Stripe gives chase until the chase ends with the tablet falling out the window and into the pool. We already talked about rebellious kids, and I think it runs in the Hewer family. We saw how Bluey and Bingo made an imaginary friend to bully her parents. But Muffin? She doesn't need her help getting on her parents' nerves. She's a villain, all right, just not one with a strong sense of conviction and the bite to match the bark. So she's in third place for the worst villains. However, there's a character who's got a vicious bite but doesn't bark, because he's not even a dog. I'm talking about Unicorse. Yep, the hand puppet unicorn. You know you're a menace in the world of Bluey when you have an episode named after you. So Bandit thinks the solution to Bluey's trouble with sleeping is a hand puppet. And to be fair, anybody would think that a puppet of a mythical and beautiful creature would be able to do just that. Except Unicorse isn't that type of unicorn. She does everything to make sure Bluey doesn't sleep. She keeps on interrupting Chili, and he even has this super annoying catchphrase. And if that's not villainous enough, Chili gets so sick of him that the only thing she can do is resort to violence.
Good on you for trying, but you can't change Unicorse.
Ugh, I think you're right.
She was really of her rocker and felt this was the one time she thought it was okay to stop trying to set an example for her kids. And eventually, Bluey does get to sleep, but only because Unicorse did so first. After this episode, I can't look at unicorn toys the same. But if such a villain only managed to be the second best, you can imagine how much of a menace the best villain is. But before we get to that, let's talk about the second worst villain in the show, Hercules. This little Saint Bernard doesn't really have a bad bone in its body. It's just terrible at getting along with its peers. In the episode Circus, Hercules really puts on a clown show. Like, why are you trying to be the main character and boss everybody around, making them do what you want? At this point, he's more of a sore loser than a proper villain. But he still manages to tick everybody off, so I guess, in a way, he does play the role of a bad guy. It just so happens to be in a very pathetic way.
You can't tell me what to do.
And all it took for him to start behaving properly was for Bluey to be the bigger person and talk him out of his bad behavior. Bluey didn't even see the need to let herself get rage baited. What type of villain can't even do that? But as terrible as he is, he's not the worst villain this show has seen, because that would be Judo. Yep, the Chow Chow with an ego as big as her mane. She's everything Hercules is, except much worse. I mean, she displays her villainy during an episode where all the little pups are playing a game. But she does something far worse than bossing people around. She brings about division between Bluey and her sister. Now the gang is playing butterflies, where one person hides in a cocoon and comes out after a while, and the others have to catch her. So when it's Bingo's turn to be a butterfly, suddenly Judo thinks the game is boring, and she and Bluey should do something else. I really need to learn a thing or two from Judo's gaslighting skills, because she somehow convinces Bluey to stop playing with her little sister. And the only reason why Bluey goes along with it is due to Judo's attitude. I have never met such a heartless little pup. But once again, Bluey saves the day by breaking free from Judo's spell. Only then does Judo see the error in her ways. Seriously? It's now that you see that you've been a bad puppy? Such a spineless little brat. The absolute worst. Can't even take this joke of a character seriously, which I could say the same with this next character, but truly villains don't get much colder than this. I mean, Grouchy Granny Pug. She's the oldest character on this list and also the most evil, and here's why. In the episode Granny Mobile, the friendly neighborhood elder Doreen is having a yard sale, and she is just the sweetest elder ever. But just when you think that every elderly dog is like this in the show, along comes Granny Pug. This old woman was literally trying to beat down a $1,000 scooter to $20. Now that's not the most insane thing she does here, it's how she goes about it so rudely. I was so genuinely shocked, and I had to check if I was still watching a kids show. Remember Muffin? One of the villains we talked about earlier. It takes her disguised as an old puppy to give this old pug a taste of her own medicine. And it worked. And that's why she's our #1 villain. Only a real villain would need another villain to be taken down. Now that's a real villain right there. She's out here with arthritis and a hip so bad she needs a scooter, but she's the queen of the villain game in this show. There you have it, the best and worst villains in Bluey. Which villain did you hate the most? Which villains do you think did a bad job at being the bad guy? Let me know in the comment section, and make sure you're subscribed because we have more Bluey content coming your way.